Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I am a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, middle, and high school age. We are in our 12th year homeschooling this year. If you are not subscribed, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified of all of my future videos. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about self-care. Today's video is a collaboration with Shauna from Homegrown Homeschool and Davene from Calm in the Chaos, and I will have a link to the playlist in the description box. I'm really excited to talk about self-care. This is a huge passion of mine to encourage homeschool moms in their own self-care. It is something that I have talked about at length on my website over many years. I actually do have my Creating Margin for Self-Care workshop opening up at the end of October. If you are interested and you want to join with the rest of us to go through that workshop on trying to create margin in your life, in your home for self-care and wellness, I will have that link in the description box for you. But first, I really just wanted to talk a little bit about what self-care is and the way that I view self-care. I don't necessarily view self-care as going to get a massage or anything like that, even though those things are nice. The way that I define self-care is that it is whatever thing you need to do to regain energy so that you are the best version of yourself for your family, for your community, for the people that you interact with daily. Now, that can be so many different things, and it really is unique to each person. As an introvert, I need a lot of quiet time in order to recharge, and that can be challenging when you are a homeschooler because you are with your people all the time. And actually, that can even be difficult if you're an extrovert and you really gain energy by large groups of people and being in community with other people. It has to be the right kind of environment, even as an extrovert, to gain that energy. Just because you have a busy household, that doesn't mean that it's energizing all the time. So some of the things that I really enjoy doing for myself are things like reading, things like journaling, things like planning. That actually does help me quite a bit when I get a lot of thoughts out of my head and onto paper, so I'm not constantly thinking about them. That may not sound like a self-care thing for a lot of people, but for me, it really helps me to make sure that I am not stressed out a lot. Yes, we will say stressed out a lot. So self-care is going to be those things that help you gain back your energy, whatever they may be. But finding the time to do those things is really a challenge. Now, as homeschool moms, we wear a lot of hats. As moms in general, we wear a lot of hats. And I think oftentimes we're putting everybody else, everything else ahead of our own wellness because we feel such pressure, whether it's outside external pressure or whether it's created internally, which is the issue that I have. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do a lot of different things. You really need to figure out ways to take the time that you need to recharge. Otherwise, what happens is you will hit a wall, and nobody likes that. It's not fun. And then it's a lot harder to catch up and to get a breath. So some of the things that I have done over the years to help create that margin in my life is to wake up earlier. Now, this is a little bit easier, I think, for me because I do consider myself a morning person. I consider myself a morning person because I do get up early in the morning. I don't necessarily enjoy getting up early. It's not something that I always loved. In fact, I am not a very excited person in the morning. I'm not one to get up and go to the gym or do things like that. I really need quite a bit of time by myself to just drink coffee. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to make breakfast for anybody. I just want to be able to sit and concentrate on the day ahead, make sure that I have time to journal and read and plan out my day, that really sets my day up so much better when I take that time first thing in the morning. Now, part of the reason that I am a morning person is because my kids, when they were little, were extremely early risers, and I was never successful at putting them back to sleep. I did talk about this in my video last week when I was talking about morning time and how I get up super early. I do not use an alarm. My body naturally wakes up at a specific time every day. It took me years to build that habit, and now it is just the thing that I do. I don't hit a snooze button. I don't really have an alarm that I wake up to. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I just get up and start my morning routine. That morning routine is a huge amount of my self-care. When I don't do that morning routine, if my kids were sick overnight, or if we've been going so many places and I'm just exhausted and cannot wake up super early. By super early, I mean, 5:30 is when I typically wake up. If I don't wake up until 7 and I don't have that hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning to prepare before our school day begins, I do not do as well as a homeschool mom. I just feel like I'm not doing all of the things that I need to do. I feel behind. It is what it is. So that morning routine is the first really big part of my self-care routine. Now, if you're not a morning person, but you want to implement a morning routine, I would say start with one thing that would be really helpful for you in the morning, and then if you normally get up at 6:30 or 7:30, don't say you're going to wake up at 5. Say you're going to wake up at 6:20 or 7:20. Don't sabotage yourself before you've even started. And I think that that's where a lot of people struggle with morning routines. They think they're just going to get up and do all of this long list of items in the morning, but it doesn't have to be that way. And on the reverse side, there are people that love to stay up really late and they get a lot of energy and are able to stay up late and successfully have their next day. And so if that is really your time, create some sort of evening routine. For me, I do have a morning routine and an evening routine, and they are very focused on self-care. My morning routine is coffee, Bible, journal, nonfiction reading. My evening routine is all about fiction reading or knitting. Those are the two things that I tend to do in the evenings that really help center me and get me ready for a good night's sleep. Now, it doesn't have to be the things that I do. But what you want to do is look at your day and find out where are there pockets of time that you can incorporate some self-care, where you can, put a movie or an educational show on for your kids for 15 or 20 minutes, during the day, so that you have just a little bit of downtime to do something for your own well-being. I'm not saying to wash your floors or to do the laundry, although sometimes those things can be great times to sort of meditate and figure out what you need to do next. It's good thinking time, but I'm talking about do one thing that you really enjoy, whether it's reading or writing or a craft or taking pictures or whatever the thing is that you find joy in. Make it a priority to incorporate that into your day. I am going to say to incorporate it and let your kids see you do that thing as well, because that shows them that you also value your own time. You value creating space for yourself, and it teaches them that it's okay to do that as well. I think oftentimes when we hear self-care, a lot of people think selfish, and that is not the case at all. Now, obviously you don't want to put only your own needs first and never think about anybody else. But you do have to start thinking about yourself first a lot more. And that can be a real challenge. When I started my own self-care journey, it was like 2012, 2013, and I was really struggling. I had put everything else ahead of my own well-being. Everything outside of my home, my kids, how my husband was doing, our family obligations, church obligations, sports commitments, activities, committees, all of those things were put before me, before I could do anything for myself. And what happened was, like I talked about earlier, I hit a wall and it was a struggle. And for a while, I didn't know what to do. I wanted to do all of those things. I felt like I needed to. I felt obligated to do all of these things. But I had to really reevaluate where I was saying yes and whether or not I should be saying yes. And I had a season where I had to say no to a lot of things. And it was really hard because I was such a people pleaser. I wanted to make sure that everybody was taken care of and happy. I thought my decisions, me committing to do these things outside of our home was making other people happy, not realizing that it's not my responsibility. I don't make other people happy. It's a choice for yourself. I have to make the choice to make myself happy, but not everybody else. So there can be extremes. Now, if you're going through a really difficult time, I would say strip out all of the stuff, make a list and say, what really is the most important thing? What is the thing that I need to do first? What is the second most important thing? What is the third most important thing? And kind of go through and see where all of those commitments and other things are on that list. And if you don't have time to do kids' sports, or if you don't have time to participate on a committee or do a service project for a season, it's okay. It's okay to draw back and really figure out what the best path for you and for your family is. Now, I talk about this so much more in my workshop, but what I want you to focus on today is to come up with a couple of ideas of things that you really love to do. If it's something that you really can't do right now due to whatever circumstances your life you're in for your life right now, it's okay. You can come up with, it doesn't have to be so extreme. But come up with a few things that you think would help recharge you each day, whether it's sitting with a cup of tea and a book in the afternoon, which is something that I would love to do, but I have not been able to fit it in my schedule lately. I'm hoping that as we get into the winter, I can do that more. We'll see. Make a list of a few things that do give you energy. What are the things that you think will help renew your spirit and give you that extra push to make it through the day? Whether it's setting up your day in the morning early like I do, whether it is having coffee with a friend a couple of times a week, whether it is just having a conversation with somebody or journaling or whatever it is. You can come up with a couple of ideas, and then what I want you to do is look at your week and figure out where you have a pocket of time that you can do that. Now, it may be that you only have 5 or 10 minutes here or there, and that's okay. And it does take time to figure out how to manage your weekly schedule, your time commitments for other things, your family commitments, all of those things, and create that margin, create those blocks of time where you can do a little bit more self-care. But look at your week as a whole and see if there are a couple of times. It doesn't have to be every day. It's great if it can be every day. If you think you can find a pocket of time every day to do one or two of those items that you put on your most important list, look for some pockets of time so that you can start to incorporate some self-care in your days and weeks. It doesn't have to be all at once. And honestly, it takes a while to build up that habit of creating margin and making sure that you have time set aside for yourself. It's very easy to, when something else comes up, to put yourself off to the side. But what I want to encourage you to do is really put yourself on the calendar and make it like a real appointment. Not an appointment that you would call and reschedule last minute because something came up, but something that you know you would put on the calendar and you would definitely be there. So look for a couple of times this week. See if you can put yourself on the calendar. It doesn't have to be for a long amount of time, but I would encourage you to grab a notebook and sort of write down some of the things. It does take a little bit of time to figure out, well, what are the things that I want to do in my life that are going to recharge me, that are going to help me to be a better person? It's okay. It's going to take some time to figure out those things, but come up with a few ideas. Will these be your forever ideas? Probably not, but they may work in the short term. And then see what happens when you do put yourself on the calendar. Tell everybody if you have to do it during the middle of the day, feed your kids lunch and go to another room and just sit down for 15 minutes. If you can't do that, and because your kids are really small, try and do something during rest time or nap time. I know that when my kids were little, when it was nap time, I would often educate my older kids. I would be homeschooling during that nap time. Or I would be, when my older two were really little and we weren't really homeschooling all the time, I would be in cleaning mode because I didn't have time to do that when I'm entertaining the kids and being a parent and trying to manage all of that stuff. So you're just going to have to look for little pockets of time. Again, it does not have to be a long 2-3 hour time period or even 30 minutes, but look for 5 or 10 minutes and see if you can just sit down and come up with your ideas and then plug those ideas into a couple of times this week. I would love to hear what some of your items would be. What are the things that recharge you? Let me know in the comments. I love to hear what others' ideas are. So to recap everything, first step, take a breath. It's okay. I know that life is really challenging. Every year is challenging. Every season is challenging, and you have to readjust. And if you're super overwhelmed, I have been there. I totally understand how that can be. But just pick a couple of things that you really love to do and write them down. And then I want you to look for a couple of 10-minute periods of time this week, towards the end of this week, and tell me when those times are and what thing you are going to do during those 10 or 15 minutes. Is 10 or 15 minutes going to be the end-all be-all for self-care? No, but it is a place to start. And so I want to hear what you decide, and then I want you to come back and tell me how it went for you when you actually take that time. I can be your accountability partner. You can email me. My contact form is always in the description box. It's something that I find so important to make sure that you are taking the time to re-energize yourself, because when you do that, you are a better person for your family and your community. You're able to homeschool your kids better. You're able to manage your family and your home better, and you're able to be out in your community with a positive attitude because you're taking care of yourself, and that's really important. When you don't have anything left to give and you're still trying to serve and be out there, it's not helping anybody. Even though you think you've committed to something, you need to see it through. I understand that, but there is somebody else that may be better suited for that obligation. it's okay to take a step back and take a deep breath. So that is what I wanted to share about self-care. I'm sure that my video is maybe a little bit different than what other people are going to share. I really haven't shared as much about like different things that you can do for self-care because I really do feel like it is an individual thing that you have to figure out. Yeah, but I hope that this video was helpful to you and I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions or you want to chat with me about self-care, or if you have questions about my Creating Margin workshop, again, just send me an email, or you can also leave me a comment if you want to do that in a public forum. Either is fine, and I would love to chat with you about it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.